enforcement agent.
It's to do with a High Court order.
They work for the High Court. And if it says you're owed money, it's their job to go and get it.
I'm here for £6,072.18.
They can demand payment on the spot.
I'm here for the full balance.
How are you going to pay it?
Or remove assets instead.
The car will be going unless you can pay it.
You'll have a week to pay in full before it gets sold at auction.
Obstructing their work can be a criminal offence.
I wouldn't do that if I were you. The door needs to stay open.
Every year in England and Wales, unpaid debts totalling more than £80 million are recovered by the sheriffs. Coming up, Neil Cummings bought an eco-friendly heating system, which turned out to be dangerous.
I paid over £10,500. I ended up with a system that was completely unsafe.
There's a dramatic intervention from Lawrence to stop assets disappearing from the business that sold it.
They were literally engines running. I just had to swing the van across and block them in.
Tommy's looking for a result at a football club with a debt to pay.
I won't leave here today without payment or taking stuff with me.
Lawrence confronts a car dealer who owes a £12,000 refund to a customer.
I will ask the question again. What can you pay?
And Tommy and Craig remove not one but two vehicles from a debtor's driveway. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and enforcement agent Lawrence Grix is already on the road. He's heading into Surrey for an unpaid debt owed by a business specialising in eco-friendly heating systems.
We're down near Guildford today, just coming into a place called Gomshall. We've got the Green Shop and Jan Augstolis. I believe it's a shop that sells wood-burning stoves and things, and there was an issue with a wood-burning stove. We're here today for just under £8,500.
The claimant in the case is Neil Cummings, a self-employed builder who came across the company after embarking on a labour of love, building his own family home.
I've built houses for other people, but the idea of actually building a house specifically for us was a lifelong ambition. When we eventually found this plot, it didn't have any gas. There's no gas supply, there's no oil here. So I decided that I wanted to go the green route.
After researching his options, Neil found a local supplier and installer, the Green Shop in Gomshall. He went to meet the man in charge, Jan Augstolis.
He said he has absolutely no trouble. He could design a system for that, which he did. He gave me a quote, which I accepted. He talked the talk. He seemed to certainly know what he was talking about.
At the heart of the whole system was a wood-burning stove. And initially, Neil was very pleased with the installation.
All of the work proceeded well, and everything was installed. Everything seemed to be fine and above board.
That was until Neil wanted to add a new feature onto the system. And when he couldn't get hold of Mr. Augstolis, called in another plumber.
He came along and had a look at the system that we had here for a couple of hours, and he turned round and said, "I'm really not happy." He said that in his opinion, the system didn't have enough safety features within it.
So Neil had it disconnected. When he contacted the manufacturer of one of the other main components in his heating system, not only did they confirm what the plumber was saying, they also forwarded an email they'd sent to Mr. Augstolis.
And in the email, it basically turned around and said that the wood-burning stove used in conjunction with this particular system must, and must was all in capital letters, must have an inbuilt quench coil.
The quench coil is designed to release energy from the system in the event of a power cut or safety features failing. While it's not necessary in every wood-burning stove, Neil's particular system required one, and without it, he feared he was sitting on a potential time bomb.
What we've actually got is a pressurized system which is building up and up and up. It's like an old steam locomotive. If you can't release the energy, it's going to explode. And the idea of actually spending my life savings building this property to potentially have, my family in a dangerous situation is scary.
Neil tried to get in touch with Jan Augstolis to see what he had to say.
He didn't reply to any of my text messages, emails. I phoned him. I went down to the shop. I couldn't get hold of him at all. when I was actually paying the money out, he was returning calls within half an hour. However, as soon as he'd received the final amount of money, the correspondence completely ceased.
Eventually, Neil decided the only option was to get quotes to rectify the work and complete the installation, and then take Mr. Orkstolis and the Green Shop to court to cover the costs. When they didn't defend the case, Neil won a default judgment.
Since then, he hasn't paid any money at all, so I've decided that I need to take this case further.
He's now escalated it to the High Court and obtained a writ for the sheriffs to enforce.
At the end of the day, I paid over £10,500 to Jan for the installation of this system, of which I ended up with a system that was completely unsafe. Money's tight. I haven't been able to rectify any of the situation, and I won't be able to rectify it until I get any money, if I do get any money back from the sheriffs. So hopefully, in their hands, we'll see what they can do.
Lawrence is en route to the shop, and his research in the office has painted a promising picture of what he might find.
It looks quite a reasonably large premises when you look at it on Google, with a car park to the rear, so yeah, hopefully they'll have assets there. There is money in wood-burning stoves.
But Lawrence is foreseeing a potential pitfall. Mr. Cummings has obtained his writ in the name of the boss personally and the Green Shop, which is just a trading name and so not a legal entity. Success this morning may boil down to how exactly the business has been set up.
It is actually dependent really on whether Mr. Orkstolis owns any of the assets, or if there's a company trading there.
Lawrence arrives at the Green Shop just as some workers are about to get into their vans.
I'm going to have to try and catch this fella here, I think.
So there's no hanging about.
Morning, gents. I'm looking for Jan Orkstolis. Is that you at all?
No.
Is he here? Mr. Orkstolis here?
Can you turn the cameras off, please?
Our cameraman retreats to the road, while Lawrence tries to find out where Mr. Orkstolis is. But the workers here appear to be installers or engineers. They're keen to get off to their first job of the day and don't want to wait. When they start preparing to leave, Lawrence swings into action, repositioning his van and blocking the entire entrance to the car park.
Normally I would have tried to take the time to clamp them, but where I was on my own and they were literally engines running, about to dash out the car park, I just had to swing the van across and block them in. Sorry to have to do this to you guys. I fully appreciate that you're only just trying to earn a living and do your job.
But as their vehicles are sign-written and could belong to the debtor, Lawrence can't let them leave until he has answers, which seem to be hard to come by.
Mr. Orkstolis isn't here. The guys that are here say they basically run the place. I don't see him very often. They've tried contacting him on the phone. I've tried contacting him on the phone. We've got nowhere at the moment. It just goes straight to voicemail. And the guys that are here now just asked if I can give them 5 minutes. So I don't know what they're going to try and do, if they're going to try and pay it. The 3 vehicles that I've managed to block in are all clear of finance. If I can't get hold of him and the guys here can't get hold of him, then yeah, I'll basically remove the vehicles.
But getting hold of Mr. Orkstolis turns out to be quite simple after all. One man who's here is showing more interest in the case.
Mr. Grix, Grix.
And Lawrence puts 2 and 2 together.
So, are you Mr. Orkstolis then?
It is indeed Mr. Orkstolis, the man who sold Neil his dangerous heating system. Lawrence shows him his writ and explains he's here for £8,440. Mr. Orkstolis tells him nothing here is owned by him, but by his business, which is registered as the Green Shop Gomshall Limited. Lawrence demands proof of ownership, but in the end, he doesn't need to see it. Perhaps mindful of his staff trapped in the car park and unable to get to work, Mr. Orkstolis manages to come up with some money. Lawrence moves his van out of the way and lets them go.
That didn't go too badly. The gentleman there actually was Mr. Augstolis, and he's managed to come up with just under £3,500 today, and I'll put him on a monthly arrangement of £1,000 a month for the rest.
All being well, he should clear his debt in 5 months.
He does admit that the limited company owes the money, which is basically why he's paid some money today. The vehicles allegedly belong to the limited company, although that wasn't proven to me, so I was still using them as leverage. But we'll have to see what happens. He may well just stick to his arrangement.
Down the road in Sussex, word of the payment has come as a welcome relief to Neil Cummings.
Really good news from the sheriffs. We've actually finally managed to get hold of the first initial payment of just over £3,500. So that's come in, and that's brilliant. So we've already got the new wood-burning stove, which is just sitting in place. It's not actually connected. Let's just hope that Jan is true to his word and honours the agreement, and it will be the end to a lot of stress and anxiety that we've had over the last year.
Using the county courts to try to recover money you're owed isn't difficult. 1.5 million money claims are made every year in England and Wales, involving anything from faulty goods or poor workmanship to unpaid invoices. Claims can be filed by post or online for a small fee. Both parties in the case will be asked to submit evidence, and you may have to attend a court hearing. If you're successful, a county court judgment or CCJ will be issued against the debtor. And if they still don't pay, that's when you call the sheriffs. Enforcement agent Tommy Coyle is in the East Midlands, with an unusual case on his hands against a sports club.
We're on our way to Corby today. We're visiting Corby Town Football Club. I think they're quite a small club. There's previously been an agent visit the property. Spoke to a Steve, who's the chairman, who promised payment. The payment has not been forthcoming.
Corby Town FC has been taken to court for unpaid invoices by a company which has done groundwork on the pitch. The club didn't defend the case, and judgment was issued by default. It owes £10,965. Tommy may not be much of a football fan, but today he's hoping for a win.
Hopefully they'll have some assets there. Could be a small bar, could be some minivans transporting the players round. There could be some trophies, but I don't know how many trophies Corby Town have won recently. But we'll have a look. We're hoping for a result today, possibly a 3-2. Tommy?
Thankfully, it's not match day.
Welcome to Corby Town FC.
Although Tommy has no trouble getting into the grounds, finding anyone to talk to might be another matter. But he soon navigates his way into some kind of clubhouse, where a team talk appears to be underway.
Hi, you alright?
You're right, is the chairman about?
He's not here. He's probably over in the stand if he isn't.
Could you give him a call for me? It's quite urgent. I'm an enforcement agent.
Tommy's stumbled on the club's youth academy, and the man in charge offers to get the chairman on the phone.
It's going straight to answer machine, sorry.
Is it?
I don't know what else I can do.
Is there anyone else you can call? Because the problem I have, I'm literally here, I'm going to start listing assets down straight away. Once I've listed everything down, I'll literally be getting contractors in and start removing stuff.
Understandably, it's not what the man wants to hear, especially as he says the academy is separate and not part of the club.
Stuff like this, the laptop cabinet doesn't belong to Corby Town.
You got the paperwork to show that?
Not on me.
You need to get it.
Soon, the academy's finance director is on the phone, telling Tommy he can't touch anything here. Tommy explains the situation.
It boils down to we need to see evidence of what belongs to you. So if you want to call the police, and I'll carry on with what I've got to do here. Okay?
Tommy's presence here is ruffling a few feathers, but he's got a writ to enforce, plain and simple.
Yeah.
He can just show me the evidence instead of just telling me that I can't do it, because I ain't going to get him nowhere. Right, start listing everything down.
News that an enforcement agent is planning to remove the contents of the clubhouse soon gets through to the right person.
You alright?
Chairman on the phone.
Is this Steve, is it?
Steve, yeah.
Hello, sir.
But club chairman Steve Noble hasn't called up to make a payment. He instead has a different take on events.
What you're saying is he's willing to pay all the cost.
He's talking about a deal he's come to with the claimant.
I appreciate that what you're saying, but unless I'm instructed by a court, I have to carry on my actions today. All right, speak to you in a bit. Chairman seems to think that he's come to an agreement with the claimant. The claimant was going to pay our costs directly to us, and then there was going to come to an agreement between themselves. I've got no notes of that.
And a quick call to Tommy's office suggests that while the claimant may be willing to accept a payment schedule, he wants any such deal to be arranged through the sheriffs.
Oh, right. So, okay, so it's not what he said then.
In the meantime, Tommy's search for assets continues. In the bar, there's some alcohol.
Limited wet stock.
And a modest collection of silverware.
3 cups up there, and 1 large one there. So make a note of them.
Though the first aid room turns out to be of more interest.
Oh, here we go. Resuscitator machine, electronic one. I think you just put the paddles on, start her up, and it saves your life, basically. They're really good bits of kit.
Tommy knows how to use one from his days in the Marines.
I was a FA2 trained. I could do a bit of first aid, then stop you bleeding out if you got shot.
Hopefully, that won't be necessary today. Tommy takes the kit to the van and tries to reach the chairman again to see if he's going to come up with the money.
Hello, Mr. Noble. It's the enforcement agent.
But it's not the news he wanted. The chairman still wants to come to an arrangement, but without putting any money up front.
Without making that payment now, we're not going to be able to facilitate anything other than removing what we can. We won't just come leave a letter and then not return. I'm sent back to enforce it, and I won't leave here today without payment or taking stuff with me.
Tommy wants at least £3,000 now, but the chairman says he can't pay.
If you're telling me it's impossible to make any kind of payment today, then kind of our conversation's going to come to an end, because I'm just going to have to carry on what I'm going to do here. Mr. Noble, I'll probably be here for the next 3 hours, because I'll get the contractors on their way. If anything does get sorted, let me know, but we're going to carry on what we're going to do here. Right. Not paying anything then.
It looks like removal is Tommy's only option, and he takes his search for assets pitch side.
2 goalposts.
Which, believe it or not, could be removed, although they're not as useful as what's in the outbuildings.
Ah, that's the one. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Something with a bit of monetary value. I'll have the keys as well.
But before he can get too carried away, he's interrupted by a groundsman.
I'll lock you in a minute. They're not even the pups.
And they? Whose are they?
Right.
They're yours?
Yeah, they're not under the club's name. There's nothing under the club's name there.
Yeah.
See that now.
Have you got any evidence that? Who are you?
I just look after the pitch, mate.
And the groundsman's ownership of the sit-on mower isn't the only third-party claim over the goods here. The man from the academy is back, with proof that it owns the laptops in the clubhouse.
10 laptops and the case.
If you print this off, I'm happy, leave all laptops alone. Alright.
In terms of assets, the football club isn't proving to be rich pickings. Tommy's running out of places to look, and thoughts wander to Sheriff's FC.
I'll be forward. Kev on the wing. We'll have Wild in defence with Ken. Valen in goal. Grixie will be our manager.
Tommy returns to the van to start organising the removal, but is interrupted by another phone call.
Let's just get this right then. You hold the lease for the grounds here. And the building, yeah.
There's been a substitution, and a new player is on the pitch. It's the landlord, who's got wind that the club's goalposts, among other things, might be about to be removed. And it sounds like he could be willing to make a payment.
Okay, sir. All right, speak to you about. Right. He's willing to pay on their behalf the 3,000, and he'll have it paid by midday tomorrow.
With limited assets here and other multiple claims over their ownership, it's a deal Tommy's prepared to agree to. The landlord soon arrives at the club, where he meets with Tommy off camera. A controlled goods agreement is signed for the assets listed down, and Tommy leaves satisfied.
With the complexities we had there and the amount of third-party claims, and with the property being leased by somebody else, I think it's a good result getting the CGI £1,500 per month with the £3,000 paid tomorrow.
The £3,000 arrived as promised, and the company which did the work on the pitch has started to receive its money. Lawrence and Kev are in Sevenoaks in Kent. They've got another High Court writ to enforce, this time against a business which specialises in classic cars.
We are heading to a car garage called Carden Europe. They owe £12,963, and this debt's relating to the sale of a Porsche, I believe.
The garage they're going to looks well stocked, and the sheriffs are feeling confident. Little do they know that today is not going to go as well as they would hope. The case began when taxi driver Nick Luthwaite from Durham was looking to buy a new car for him and his wife. After saving up some money and taking a loan, they decided to treat themselves to the car of their dreams.
It was always my ideal thing to have a Porsche 911, the most iconic car.
And when Nick found one on Auto Trader, it seemed to be everything they wanted.
A light metallic blue, matching blue leather. It had so many upgrades that made the car really special. Absolutely perfect for what we were looking for.
The car was some distance away in Kent at a dealer's called Carden Europe Limited. But Nick made the trip to have a look and met the company director, Andrew Austin.
He seemed very knowledgeable. On his website, he'd been in the trade for 30 years. He explained that he shipped cars all over the world. He was a very convincing man.
Nick met the £34,000 asking price with the part exchange of his previous car, a BMW, and £15,000 on top. He then drove away as the proud owner of a Porsche 911.
Dream come true. It was an absolute dream come true.
But not everything about the car was perfect.
After about 100 miles, the clutch started getting slightly heavier, and it was starting to struggle to go into gear.
And Nick's wife found it even more difficult.
She said it was undrivable for her, and that's when I rang him up and told him straight away, I said, there's something not quite right here.
Mr. Austin advised Nick to take it to a specialist who made some repairs. But they also made an alarming discovery. The car was still on a finance agreement, which its previous owner hadn't paid off. That means it was still technically owned by the bank.
I don't know how much was owing on the car, but it still had 4.5 years to run. So I'm effectively paying for a car that I don't own.
Mr. Austin claimed he'd taken out the finance arrangement himself as the dealer and would soon clear it. But when that didn't happen after a week, Nick lost faith and arranged to return the car and get his old one back.
I took the car to a local vaulting place. I got the car cleaned, immaculate, and I presented that car back to him in a better way than what I got it. He looked round the car and he says, I'll give you £12,500.
Which, along with the return of his BMW, was £2,500 less than what he'd paid.
I says, well, you haven't mentioned this on the phone. He says, I've got me loss of profit.
Eventually, Mr. Austin offered to reimburse £13,000, and Nick decided to accept it for the time being, in the form of a cheque.
I thought, I'll take his cheque for the £13,000, and I'll take him to the small claims court for the £2,000. I'm not going to get into a fist fight over a car. Put his cheque into the bank, and unfortunately it bounced. It was stopped.
Mr. Austin later made a bank transfer for £3,000, but despite Nick chasing time and time again for the rest, it never came. Eventually, he made a claim through the county courts, prompting what seemed like a decent offer.
He would be happy to settle out of court at £11,400, which would be paid within a month. He still never paid it.
So Nick resumed the court action, and this time the case was heard. The judge ruled against Carden Europe in favour of Nick's wife, Nicola, as the purchase was originally made from her bank account. But that judgment hasn't been paid either.
was savings and a loan. Went to buy that car, £15,000, an awful lot of money. And he's sitting with me money and I'm sitting with a bank loan.
Now the Lewthwaites have taken the next logical step.
So we've involved the sheriffs, and basically they're probably the last hope to get any money.
Back in Kent, Lawrence and Kev are about to arrive at Carden Europe. Kev's notes suggest Mr. Austin wants to come to a deal.
The debtor has actually been in touch with us and tried to make an arrangement, but we're going to head over there now and look for full payment. I believe that the garage we're going to has got quite a lot of stock of particularly high value cars, so we're hoping that although 12,900 is quite a lot of money, probably only take one of these cars to cover the debt entirely. Just hope they're not owned by someone else.
The sheriffs pull into the garage and park up. A man is on the forecourt.
Right, so you work here?
Yes.
It's Andrew Austin, the garage owner, but he's interrupted before Lawrence can find out any more. In the meantime, he eyes up the stock.
That's the TR6 that's on the website for 19,995, I believe. Lovely. Always wanted one of them when I was younger.
Is that original colour as well?
Inca yellow, yeah, there's the hardtop for it. Look, that was a costly extra.
Not all the cars on display here are classics, but there's certainly enough to get their teeth into. The next question is, who owns them? Mr. Austin is off the phone, so it's time to find out.
I'm Mr. Grix, my colleague and I are enforcement agents. We've got a High Court writ against Carden Europe in favour of a Mrs. Nicola Lewthwaite.
Oh, right, yeah.
You've been in touch about it. We're here today to take control of goods to the value of £12,963.19.
Okay.
The only way to prevent further action is to pay in full.
Okay, well, we haven't got... Carden Europe wouldn't have that amount of goods.
Well, there's plenty of stock on here.
Yeah, that's it. Carden Europe works as a commission-based company. It sells...
Right, so everything's on SOR.
Yeah.
Have you got paperwork to that effect?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, if I can see, that's what I need to see.
Mr. Austin says all his cars are sale or return. In other words, he's selling them on behalf of their owners for a fee. It's exactly what Lawrence and Kev had feared might be the case, and Mr. Austin seems to have the paperwork to prove it.
Basically, these are sale and return documents for every vehicle that we've got here.
Can I have a quick look through?
Yep, sure.
Right, we need to go out and check these. Give you half, I'll have half.
They head outside and begin checking the documents against every car here.
Right, I've got the Kangoo. I've got the Maserati.
And one by one, they rule them out.
There's the Zafira.
Polo.
I've got the Merc.
You've got the Merc, yeah?
I've got the TR6 and I've got that Morris.
But there are a few cars which don't seem to be accounted for.
There's still other vehicles that are on the forecourt that aren't there, which is the Alpha, the Focus RS.
The Focus RS is my own personal vehicle.
Right.
That's on finance with a finance company.
Right.
So
The Audi.
the Audi
And the black BM3 series up the back.
is on sale.
Right, so we need to see the paperwork for that.
I haven't got that at this moment in time.
Right, so you didn't give the person a receipt.
No.
That's very trusting of him.
Mr. Austin produces more paperwork to rule out his car and the Alpha, leaving just two within Lawrence's reach. They're not worth that much, and so he now knows he's not in a position to insist on full payment after all. His best chance of recovering Nick Lewthwaite's missing money might now rest on Mr. Austin coming up with a decent offer.
So what were you initially proposing?
Well, I was thinking along the lines of I'd be happy to pay something like £1,000 a month and reduce the balance that way.
Right. Can you kick it off with 6?
When?
Now.
I can't physically do anything now, that's for sure. Physically, impossible.
Right, so we need some kind of evidence of that, really, to be honest.
Mr. Austin says the company has no money at all at the moment, but Lawrence is sceptical.
as a business, you can't not be able to get your hands on some kind of money. Have you got a bank statement you can show me that shows your current financial state for the company?
No, not physically here, but I would think we're about £400 overdrawn.
Online?
I can't do it online, no.
So you haven't got online banking at all?
No, well, I have, but I can't physically do it here.
He does, however, manage to produce a recent email from his bank.
Yeah, look, I note that the account is overdrawn at 484. Can you please make arrangements to repay this sum, which we haven't done yet?
Right.
Okay?
Yep. And there's only the one company bank account?
Yes.
Whilst I'm not disputing what you're saying, it just seems unfathomable to me, to be honest, that you've got these vehicles on sale or return, so you haven't had to buy them, you just get a bit when you sell it. So why has the company got no money?
Well,
it's
we've paid our bills and we've kept up to date.
But with absolutely nothing on the table, Lawrence is running out of options.
We need something today to get the ball rolling. Otherwise, low value that it is, I'll be obliged to take the Audi because there's no evidence, obviously, that is on sale or return, and the BM.
It's a situation they'd rather avoid, especially as there's a strong possibility that they do belong to customers. As the two cars are the only leverage the sheriffs have to squeeze any payment out of Mr. Austin, Lawrence calls his office to organise a tow truck.
All right. Can you give Rob a buzz and see what removal trucks he's got available? Cheers. Bye.
But rather than coming up with the money, Mr. Austin, who's been working away at his computer, produces a sale or return document for one of the vehicles.
It's not on headed paper.
Yeah.
That's the only problem.
Well, not quite.
It's not the lack of headed paper, it's the lack of signature or anything.
But 10 minutes later, that is also rectified. Mr. Austin pops into the back and returns with signed SOR agreements for both cars. Lawrence can't quite understand it.
Right, but you didn't have them just now, so how have you got signed copies?
I've got them sent through.
From where?
From my accountswoman. And she's filed and printed them. They just printed through.
Sorry, they've come through from your accountswoman?
Yes. She does it from a remote access.
Mr. Austin is saying the woman who does his accounts has just sent the documents remotely to his printer. Lawrence doesn't believe him.
I believe you've just written these up yourself and signed them yourself. So I'll just leave the trucks on their way.
At this point, Mr. Austin says he needs to go and get a car MOT'd and starts to leave.
Right, I've got to go.
Okay then, sir.
I can't leave you in here.
You can't throw us out either.
All right, look, what can I give you in the form of money?
You've just said you could...
No, for me personally, what...
You said you couldn't do anything. I will ask the question again, which I've asked you repeatedly since I've been here. What can you pay?
Can I give you 500 quid?
No, it's not enough.
Well, there you go. That's my personal accounts with 663 in it. I can do you £500 now, and then we can sort out the terms of the rest of the deal.
After seeing a near-empty bank account and faced with the choice of either £500 or removing some low-value cars which probably don't belong to him anyway, Lawrence has finally pushed it as far as he can. He takes the £500 and gets Mr. Austin to sign up to a repayment plan for £1,000 a month.
That's your receipt and your card. So you paid £500 today.
Yep.
You've got to pay £1,000 a month.
Yep.
If you fail to stick to the arrangement, we'll come back and take whatever cars are available at the time.
Yep, sure.
It's
It's not the outcome they wanted, but it's all they could do.
Unfortunately, Carden itself, even though it looks good on paper, doesn't appear to really have any assets. Basically, every vehicle's on sale or return. So Mr. Austin paid £500 out of his own account, basically just to get rid of us. And I've signed him up to £1,000 a month, which, given that there isn't actually any leverage, I don't think that was a bad result. But, you know, we pushed as hard as we could. Hopefully it will stick to it.
Mr. Austin told us that the finance on the Porsche was taken out by his company and would have been cleared if the Luthwaites hadn't returned the car. He says he deducted money from the refund to cover his costs, including extra mileage on the car and a screw in one of the tyres. He says he only stopped the check after the Luftwaits threatened further legal action. And he says the company tries to act fairly at all times. If you've won a county court judgment and haven't been paid, for £66 you can get the case transferred up to the High Court, which will issue a writ for enforcement by the sheriffs.
My job is to collect in full or remove goods.
They've got special powers of entry.
We don't have to take any notice of your security protocol, I'm afraid.
And there's no limit on the size of the debts they can pursue.
£1.6 million.
If they're successful, they'll recover your money and costs from the debtor,
You got the cash now then?
as well as their own fees, which are set by the government.
She's paid, the judgment is settled.
Thank you very much.
If the sheriffs can't get your money, they'll ask you to pay a fee of £75 plus VAT. In the Midlands, Tommy is back on the road in pursuit of another unpaid debt. This time he's got his trusted partner Craig Wild with him, and they're about to visit a man who owes a substantial sum of money.
So we're in the suburbs of Birmingham again today. We're off to go and see Mr. Kev Doyley.
Mr. Doyley was taken to court by another man several months ago. He didn't defend the case, and judgment was issued against him by default. He now owes £7,381. The sheriffs have been trying to contact Mr. Doyley, but with no success.
We've been there numerous times before, had no response at all to our letters. However, there's a number of vehicles in our guy's name, so the intention is today to go and remove them if he's not going to pay the bill or play ball with us.
They reach Mr. Doyley's home address, and sure enough, two of the vehicles they were hoping to find are there.
Yeah, so that van, which has got £4 worth of value,
There's a Volkswagen van,
that's free of finance,
So you need to get a clamp on that.
and also the CA61 on the drive, yeah?
and a Vauxhall hatchback.
That's 3,200 quid, that car.
The sheriffs get straight to work. Tommy clamps the van, while Craig tries the door. As usual, there's no answer.
Gotta be someone here, isn't there? Oh, there's all these cars here.
The main rubbish bin's completely empty. Post is still in the door. Got a phone number.
Try ringing him.
He does, but it goes straight to answer phone.
Hello, this is a message from Mr. Kev Doyley. I need you to contact me as soon as possible, Mr. Doyley. Thank you. Let's order the truck.
That's all we can do.
That's all we can do, isn't it?
With Mr. Doyley owing upwards of £7,000, both vehicles will need to be removed to cover the debt. But without keys for the car on the drive, and another car blocking access for the tow truck, it's not clear if it's going to be possible.
That's going to be a bit of a nightmare getting through there, isn't it?
No, it's going
On
to
a
be
flatbed.
more than a nightmare.
Tommy's sceptical, but ever the optimist, Craig presses ahead and books in the removal of both vehicles.
If they can get here for about 1:45, it'll be fine. It's done. Sending 2 vehicles.
You're not going to get that out, mate.
Well, if they can't, they can't. Let them try first. They're the experts, aren't they?
I think it's going to cause us a right headache.
The sheriffs retreat to the van to wait it out. But soon, Tommy spots a young man who he thinks is taking an unusual amount of interest in what they're up to.
See the red door? He's been stood out the front of it watching us the whole time. And he's only just gone in there.
Could be the son.
Maybe.
And shortly afterwards, the person Tommy's seen comes over to speak to them, accompanied by an older man.
Is it Mr. Dooley?
Alright, Mr. Dooley, he's away at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah, he is. He's in Jamaica at the moment.
Any way getting in contact with him?
He'll be back on the 7th, that's all I know.
Right.
The man says he's just a neighbour, and the debtor is apparently away for another month. Tommy explains he's a High Court enforcement agent with a writ to execute.
Problem we've got at the moment, you see, is they want us to remove vehicles today which are registered to him, which obviously we don't want to do. We'd rather speak to him and get it sorted out, but we need to talk to him, really.
Unless the council can put some kind of arrangement with
The only way is money.
a large amount.
It's not a small amount. I can't discuss the details. Is it your father?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Does he know what figure he's got to pay?
He would have had letters here.
He'd have had letters hand-delivered. When did he go out? Jamaica? Last week.
Craig was right. The young man is Mr. Doyley's son. But he's not in a position to stump up several £1,000s on his dad's behalf.
They can't really help out to facilitate the payment to stop the vehicles going. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a bad situation, and looks like they're still going to be going.
But just as the sheriffs are gearing up for the removal, a call comes through from the debtor's mother.
My name's Craig Wild. I'm an enforcement agent.
She says that she owns the van, so doesn't think the sheriffs can remove it. But she's not able to provide proof of her purchase right now.
She's saying that she's purchased the vehicle for him to put into his business. But as I've said, in the absence of the proof, at this late stage, it won't prevent the removal from taking place.
Before long, the first removal truck arrives, and the logistical challenge begins. Even the van, which was supposed to be the easier of the two, turns out to be harder than expected, thanks to its long wheelbase.
I don't think it will go on.
Backwards, it doesn't fit. So they try a new strategy.
If he takes it from the front, it being shorter at the front, he'll be able to get it on and have the back end sticking off the back.
And this time, they have more success. The car, on the other hand, is a different story altogether.
The issue is the wheel. Obviously, with the steering lock on like that, to drag it, it's going to be a nightmare. So we've conquered worse.
Tommy's obviously caught Craig's optimism.
Drag it from there, I think.
And a plan does indeed come together. The Vauxhall is unceremoniously heaved up onto the truck. It's not pretty, but it works. And the car is also soon on its way.
That's good.
Cheers, thanks, man. Take care, mate.
Both vehicles will be held for 7 days. If Mr. Doyley doesn't come up with the money, and provided the vehicles do belong to him, then they'll be sold, and the claimant will finally receive the money they're owed.
Yeah, a bit of a result. We've only been here just over the 2 hours. We made some phone calls and tried to make contact at the address. Nothing. So it resulted in 2 vehicles going.
Following filming, Mr. Doyley didn't pay any money towards his debt, and his Vauxhall has been sold at auction. Meanwhile, the ownership of the van is still in dispute, and the matter is with the courts. Mr. Doyley told us that he believes he doesn't owe any money, and that the case against him was unfounded. He says he didn't respond to the court paperwork because his name was spelt incorrectly, so he didn't. Meet the sheriffs.
My name's Mr. Griggs. My colleague and I are enforcement agents.
Here with a High Court order today.
They work for the High Court, and if a judge says you're owed money, it's the sheriff's job to go and get it.
Hey, all the keys. I'm going to be calling a locksmith.
They can demand payment on the spot.
What can you pay us now? We're going to get the cash, are you? Are you paying the bill?
Or remove assets instead.
You've got 30 minutes to make the payment. And we'll start removing stuff from the building.
You'll have a week to pay in full before it gets sold at auction.
Obstructing their work can be a criminal offence.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Don't lie to me.
No mess tins.
Every year, sheriffs in England and Wales recover unpaid debts totalling more than £80 million. Coming up, mother of 2, Jenny Walker, was shocked by the state of her new rented home.
I was devastated, absolutely mortified. I just kept thinking, what have I done?
But when she moved out, she didn't get her deposit back, so the sheriffs tracked down her landlord.
Turn off. Oh, you don't need to be rude to him.
Tommy and Dave take possession of a fine art collection to pay off a multi-million-pound debt.
She don't look very happy, does she?
But one of the paintings is missing.
The defendant has come and took one of the pictures, and we know that's at least £1 million.
Mike gets tough when payment talks hit a brick wall.
Are you paying the bill? No. No. We'll start a removal then.
Yeah.
And it looks like a car servicing company has disappeared.
Got.
But things are looking up when Jess finally catches up with the owner. Today, High Court enforcement agents Tommy Coyle and Mike Perkins are in West London, and there's a storm brewing.
With wind gusts potentially reaching 80 miles an hour, that will blow down trees, it will cause disruption to power and transport as well.
Despite the weather warning, the sheriffs are hoping today's enforcement is plain sailing.
This afternoon we are in Southall. We're looking for Semi Builders Merchants Limited.
The sheriffs are pursuing a debt of just over £49,000 after a supplier took Semi Builders Merchants to court for non-payment of an invoice. They didn't contest the case, and a judgment was issued in favour of the claimant. The amount owed today is £49,010. Mike and Tommy know from experience that builders merchants are likely to have substantial assets they can use as leverage.
Is that it? That's it?
And it looks like they're right.
That's massive.
There's assets everywhere, mate.
We got loads.
Got loads to go at. There's tons of materials and assets and trucks. Look at the trucks.
But first, they need to find the boss.
Is the director about? It's a High Court order. We're here to execute it, basically, which means we're here to take control of goods, which is remove assets if we can't get a bill paid.
The sheriffs are told the man they need to see is upstairs, in the accounts office.
Upstairs? Who's upstairs?
They don't need a second invitation. They head up in search of the boss.
There you go.
Hello. Hello, sir. My name's Mr. Perkins, High Court Enforcement Agent.
How are you? Here with a High Court order today.
Sorry?
We're here for Semi Builders, the Merchants Limited. We're here with a High Court order for £49,000 that needs to be paid.
It looks like it's good timing.
I'm trying to organise the funds now. This is what it's happening.
Is this for this?
Yeah.
He says the sheriffs aren't alone. He's got other creditors chasing him for money, and he's trying to raise funds through an offshore account. But the sheriffs want payment for their claimant today, and that's not looking likely.
Okay, we'll look to remove some of the vehicles and the materials, yeah?
If removal of assets does go ahead, the size of the debt will go up.
At the moment, the balance is at 49,000. If we go to the next stage, it's going to go up to 49,600. Okay, and then when we start removing,
We've been in business for 31 years. We've never.
Yeah, I understand that. But if we start removing goods,
don't want a problem either.
And I understand that. But if we go to the removal stage, it's going to go up to 54,000.
The director tells them the lorries are on hire purchase, so they're not the property of Semi Builders Merchants. He produces paperwork to prove it. But they aren't the only assets Tommy's been sizing up.
At the moment, it's still the materials. Yeah, so we need to see paperwork for that.
You can go and see everything.
Yeah. So what have you got paperwork-wise reference? Who owns the stock you've got there, like the bags? Sir?
Look, you have your choice. Yeah.
Well, we need to tell you because I don't want to go removing stuff.
No. You got a choice. Either you got a choice to wait. And
they won't wait.
Sir, we haven't got a choice, okay? The option is to you to either pay in full, okay, or we're going to start removing goods. That's it. That's it. It's up to you to make the choice if you want to pay, or for us to put more charges on top of the fault and remove goods.
If you try to be arrogant,
I'm not being arrogant, sir. I'm stating facts.
With respect to you, I'm more worried about people I want to pay others.
Are you going to pay the bill?
I'm not worried about you.
Are you paying the bill?
No.
No. We'll start a removal then.
Yeah.
The negotiations didn't go well. Stated that he wants to pay, but we don't know when he's going to pay. He said that he's got something in for offshore accounts, but he doesn't know if he's going to get the money in for that either. So therefore, we've given him the opportunity to pay in full at the lower rate. He's refused point blank to make the payment today. So therefore, we're going to have to obviously escalate it to removal stage.
With the boss unwilling or unable to make even a part payment today, the sheriffs may have to start removing goods to clear the debt. But before they do, Mike decides to give backdoor diplomacy a go.
Are you the accountant, are you?
He is, and he's willing to help the sheriffs if he can.
How much is in the account at the moment? If we could get half of the bill, then we'll look at doing a controlled goods agreement for the remaining balance.
A controlled goods agreement means assets can stay on the debtor's premises, but they can't be sold or removed until the debt is cleared.
Have a chat with him, just see what you can do.
The accountant returns with good news. The boss may be willing to make a part payment today and then clear the rest by instalments. It's enough for Mike to try to reopen negotiations.
Can I have a chat with you for a second?
Yeah.
I'll sit down.
I don't want any photographs now. It's finished. No,
He doesn't mind
I'm not going to allow it. Sorry.
At this stage, our cameraman's asked to leave. We continue to film outside, where high winds have blown in dust particles from the Sahara, darkening the sky and turning it red.
Has it got a real funny darkness? Isn't it weird? It's like, mate, it's not the end of the world. What concerned?
Turning to more earthly matters, Tommy needs to quickly start listing assets for a controlled goods agreement. Once the agreement is signed, those assets can't be seized by any other creditor.
There's one forklift that's been mentioned in the office that is clear of finance, so I'm going to go find that now, get that listed down, so we can facilitate this arrangement. There's multiple creditors after this gentleman. It looks like there's a lot of assets here, most of them on hire purchase. So we've got to find this forklift.
Tommy quickly finds the forklift and sufficient other assets, including another forklift truck, and he completes a controlled goods agreement. All he needs now is for Mike's negotiations with the boss to have gone well.
Mike and the director upstairs obviously didn't gel very well. We have a nickname for him, Scrappy Doo, which he lives up to. But he's a great enforcement agent, we'll always have your back and always great to have with you. So I'm going to get back upstairs now and just make sure nothing's exploded.
Tommy needn't have worried. The boss has just paid £5,000 and agreed to pay the rest off in instalments. Given the multiple creditors, it's a good result.
All sorted.
All I need is a signature there, okay, and you print your name there, please. Thank you very much.
Mike's back on good terms with the director.
In the nicest way possible, I hope I don't see you again, okay?
Take care.
Thank you. Yeah, people call me Scrappy Doo due to the fact that I don't take no nonsense. I wouldn't class myself as arrogant, I'd class myself as blunt and straight to the point.
Turn up here, you think large amount of assets, you think this is going to pay all day long. When you start getting into the details here, so much of the gear's on hire purchase, being all the big vehicles and the forklifts, the hoisters and stuff. I managed to find two of the forklifts out the back, so I got them listed down pretty quick. So it's a reasonable result. I do think they'll end up paying this in full as agreed, so we've done the best we can on the day.
Semi-builders merchants have since been clearing the debt at the rate of £10,000 a month. Using the county courts to try and recover money you're owed isn't difficult. 1.5 million money claims are paid every year in England and Wales, involving anything from faulty goods or poor workmanship to unpaid invoices. Claims can be filed online or by post for a small fee. Both parties in the case will be asked to submit evidence, and you may have to attend a court hearing. If you're successful, a county court judgment, or CCJ, will be issued against the debtor. If they still don't pay, that's when you call the sheriffs. It's nearly lunchtime, and High Court enforcement agents Jess Payton and Jamie Wicks are in Peterborough. They're on their way to the pub. They're looking for the pub's landlord, Mr. Colin Payne.
The only information we've got on this at the moment is that the debtor has rung into the office to say that he's aware of the debt, but he's not going to make the payment because he doesn't have the money.
It's a personal debt and nothing to do with the pub, but the sheriffs can visit any address they suspect the debtor lives or trades from.
So I would imagine that asset-wise there'd be more than enough to cover this debt. If it's a tenancy, everything in that pub will belong to him. We've Googled it and had a look at the picture of the pub, and it looks quite a nice pub, so hopefully we should get a payment on this one, and the claimant should be happy.
The claimant is primary school teacher and mother of two, Jenny Walker. Jenny had been renting a 3-bed property in Peterborough for the past 6 years. But when her landlord decided to put it on the market, she had to move out quickly and find somewhere else to live.
I didn't know where we were going to be. I didn't know whether the children were going to have to move schools or whether they were going to have to live with their dads for a while I sorted something out.
She couldn't find a suitable property, so she decided to appeal for help on social media.
I put a post on a local Facebook page asking if anybody knew of any private landlords.
Jenny was put in touch with Colin Payne, the landlord at one of the local pubs, who had a house to rent.
We met over the bar in the pub, and had a chat about what the house was like and how much it would cost to rent.
He told her the property was in need of refurbishment and that he may not have time to do this before she moved in. Jenny and her 2 children arranged to view the house. Colin Payne met her there and showed her round.
The house was very full up and very dated. He explained that all of his furniture and belongings would be gone. He was hoping to get it decorated, but he wasn't sure if he'd have time. Everywhere was a bit dirty and a bit grubby. It did put me off, but I knew I could fix it. A bit of elbow grease and it would be okay. I needed somewhere to live and I needed somewhere quite quickly. And this was the only thing that had come up, and it was the only thing in my price range that would work.
She agreed to rent the property at £800 a month and pay a month's rent in advance as a deposit.
On the day that I went to get the keys and to move in, Colin said that he would reduce that to £600 because he hadn't had time to decorate.
Jenny says there was no formal tenancy agreement, but despite this, she handed over the deposit and the first month's rent. It was a total of £1,400.
I didn't feel comfortable with moving in with no tenancy agreement, but in the situation I was in, I kind of had no choice.
Armed with the keys, Jenny went to open up her new home. Mr. Payne had moved a lot of stuff out of the house, but only as far as the back garden.
There were rubbish bags and broken furniture outside the back door. And there was broken glass, there was a motorbike, there was a double bed.
With the house now cleared, the scale of what Jenny had taken on became all too apparent.
I was devastated, absolutely mortified. I couldn't believe that somebody would think that that was okay. I just kept thinking, what have I done? What am I putting my children into? I'd moved them from a really secure, safe, comfortable house to hell on earth, really.
Jenny enlisted the help of friends and spent the next 2 days cleaning and decorating.
All my friends turned up and made it bearable. I wouldn't say they made it good because that was impossible, but they got the kids' bedrooms clean and decorated. They got the carpet so that it wasn't as crispy underfoot. They got the kitchen so that there wasn't mould on the walls, and, they made it okay.
Jenny was determined to stay put and make a go of it.
I decorated the whole house, replaced curtain poles, curtains. I'd had the carpets professionally cleaned as well in an attempt to freshen them up somewhat. So I spent a huge amount of money trying to make the property livable.
But 2 months after moving in, Jenny says she still didn't have a formal tenancy agreement, and she was worried about her long-term security as a tenant. In spite of the work she'd done to make the property more comfortable, Jenny reluctantly decided they should move.
I just wanted out. I'd had enough. He wasn't going to do the right thing. I wasn't going to have the security of a tenancy agreement and the legal rights that come with that.
She notified Mr. Payne of her intention to leave.
I let him know at the end of May that I would be moving out on the 1st of July and that I'd like my deposit back.
When the time came to move out, Jenny handed the keys back and Mr. Payne carried out an inspection of the property.
He looked at everything, he checked every room. He said that once I'd paid off any outstanding bills, for example the council tax and the electricity and the gas, and given meter readings and things over, then he would repay my deposit.
Jenny says she did this, but the deposit wasn't returned.
He wasn't forthcoming, he wasn't answering emails, he wasn't answering telephone calls. It was £600, I needed that £600 back.
Jenny took the matter to the small claims court, but couldn't believe what happened next.
His response to my claim was that I had left it in a worse state of repair than it was when I took on the property.
Mr. Payne said she had spilt paint on the carpets, curtains were missing, and curtain rails were hanging off the walls.
I did throw the shower curtain in the bin, yes, but I replaced it with a brand new one. My friend's husband came round and put up curtain poles that I'd bought for the property, and I did throw a carpet in the bin after a discussion with Mr. Payne about it smelling of cat wee. So yes, I did do those things, but not quite in the context that they were used against me.
The court issued a judgment in Jenny's favour, instructing Mr. Payne to pay her deposit back. She didn't receive the money, and the case was transferred to the High Court, so Jenny could call in the sheriffs to collect the money she's owed.
I watch the TV programmes, and my mum watches them quite a lot, and she suggested that I pay the High Court fee, so I'm just hoping that the sheriffs can do what they couldn't and put an end to it all. They seem to be quite successful, so fingers crossed.
The amount owed today is £1,098. Jess and Jamie are in Peterborough on the trail of Jenny Walker's former landlord, Colin Payne.
I'll say it looks pretty close to me.
Look, have a look.
It's just coming up to midday, but it looks as if Mr. Payne's pub is closed.
It's not looking very open to me.
Give him a rattle on there, Jamie. There's someone in that house.
The lady said it opens at midday nearly every day.
Midday?
Nearly every day, yeah. And it's midday now, so...
Thursday lunchtime, you'd think the pub would be open, wouldn't you?
There's a second address on the sheriff's instructions, so they head round there.
We're going to go round to this other address, which is additional defendant address. So we're hoping he's going to be at home there now as the pub's not open. Otherwise we'll come back to the pub again and wait.
This is the house that Jenny Walker was renting.
Hi, love. I'm Mr. Payne from the Sheriff's Office. I'm looking for Colin Payne.
The woman who answers the door says she's a tenant, and Mr. Payne is her landlord.
He doesn't live here.
I was just the landlord. Oh, OK.
Oh, right, fair enough.
Jamie wants to see evidence that Mr. Payne really is the landlord and isn't living there.
Have you got a tenancy agreement or something like that?
She does, and the agreement confirms she's the tenant and Mr. Payne is her landlord. So it's back to the pub, where Mr. Payne is also the landlord, and where the sheriffs are hoping to finally catch up with him.
We've just pulled back up at the pub and it looks like the doors are open, so we're going to get in there a bit lively.
As they walk in, someone is walking out.
Hi, mate. I'm Mr. Payne from the Sheriff's Office. Looking for Colin Payne?
He's not in at the minute.
OK, we're going to have to come in and wait for him.
It sounds as if this man is another of Mr. Payne's tenants. He lives in a flat above the pub and asks the sheriffs to wait while he takes his dog upstairs.
Dog friendly, is he?
Sorry?
Dog friendly?
Yeah, it's friendly.
You can stroke him, I'll wait here, all right?
If there's one thing the sheriffs aren't keen on, it's a large dog on the premises.
He's friendly.
He's alright, honestly, he's friendly.
The dog's led upstairs, and the sheriffs enter the pub and wait while the man gives Mr. Payne a call.
He's coming back, is he?
Yeah, he's got...
The sheriffs want payment in full today.
OK, lovely job.
And if they play their cards right, they won't have to start removing assets.
It's a pub in like a local area, so it's probably where most people come of a weekend, of an evening to have a drink. If we close the business down, take everything, that's another thing gone, isn't it?
Suddenly, Colin Payne appears.
Hello, mate.
Turn it off.
He's not keen on the camera.
All right, you don't need to be rude to him. He's going to film outside, all right?
I've just asked him to turn it off.
Yeah, here you go outside and do it.
Jess tells Mr. Payne he wants payment in full, today.
At the moment, it's at $1,098.79. If you pay that now, we'll be gone.
Job done.
Job done.
After ringing the sheriff's office earlier to say he couldn't afford to pay, Mr. Payne surprises everyone with a sudden change of heart. He says he'll make the payment in full and has the cash upstairs, ready and waiting.
Straight away, said, no, I'll pay you now, I'm going to pay you in cash. So he's just gone upstairs to get the cash. I'm just going to got the receipt book and we're just going to write him out a receipt. Didn't expect that, but hey-ho.
A few minutes later, the sheriffs emerge, clutching a wad of cash.
No, it's windy, so don't lose it.
Oh, we'll lose that, though, I know.
It means Jenny Walker will finally get her deposit back, several months after moving out of Mr. Payne's property and handing back the keys.
He's paid in full. Didn't really qualm over it, did he?
No issues at all.
He just said, I want to get it settled.
Good result for the claimant.
Yeah, good result for the claimant, and we're going to the next one now.
Jenny Walker is delighted that all it took for her former landlord to pay up was a visit from the sheriffs.
I'm feeling ecstatic about getting my money back, finally, because it's been so long. I've paid everyone off anyway, so everybody I owed money to I've repaid. So that's our money now, so it means I can put a little back into enjoyment and leisure that we didn't have before because I was paying people off.
Colin Payne told us Miss Walker had been consistently late with her rent by up to 20 days and that she refused to sign a copy of the government's tenancy agreement. He said she gave him a few days' notice by text message before moving out, and added that he withheld Miss Walker's deposit because she refused to provide proof that gas, electric and council tax bills had been paid. He said that following the court ruling, the money was made available to Miss Walker, but she wouldn't come and get it. If you have an unpaid debt, you can call in the sheriffs to collect the money on your behalf, as long as it's more than £600. In most cases, the debt is much higher, typically thousands of pounds. But today's different. High Court enforcement agents Tommy Coyle and Dave Steele are in pursuit of a debt that runs not into thousands, but millions.
This morning we're on our way to Bury. Quite an interesting case today, a very high value case in the region of £14 million.
To be exact, 13.9 million.
This case is the largest one I've done in the 11 years I've been an agent. Basically, we're just going out to a gallery stroke museum. They have these assets which are paintings, which are potentially very high value.
The key word here is potentially. The truth is, until the sheriffs remove the paintings and get them valued, they won't really know what they're worth.
We know payment's not forthcoming from being in contact with the defendant, so we're just going to remove the assets, take control of them, remove them, and look to put them through auction.
The debtor is UK-based businessman Vincent Petrillo. He owes money to investors in a high-rise building project in Belarus. They've pursued the debt through the English courts, and a judgment's been made in their favour. The amount owed today is £13,915,537. Mr. Petrillo's apparently in Moscow, but he owns a little-known collection of Russian artwork, which is on loan to Bury Art Gallery in Greater Manchester. And that's where the sheriffs are heading.
It could be a real unique, interesting case this today. One being the sheer size of the writ, and two, the amount of value in the assets that we could be removing today.
Tommy and Dave have plenty of experience in removing assets, but when it comes to art, do they know their Rembrandt from their Rubens? Let's start with Dave.
My knowledge of art's probably just above zero. Painting at school and dot to dot, that was it.
Tommy's a little better qualified.
Oh, I got a GCSE C in art and design.
The sheriffs plan to remove a total of 8 pieces of art. Because their value isn't known, Tommy's taking no chances. He's on hands-free, on the phone to the office.
I won't be letting them move unless they're packaged extremely well. From the value I've been told of them, we're going to be making sure they're very secure. Send me your email address. Once I'm in there, I'll send you some photos.
They arrive at Bury Art Museum. It's closed to visitors and locked up.
Padlock from inside.
Yeah.
But there's to be no battle over entry or assets today. The sheriffs have pre-arranged a meeting with museum curator Richard Burns, who will hand over Mr. Petrillo's art collection. Tommy and Dave are led in through the staff entrance.
Interesting, isn't it?
And after a short wait, Mr. Burns, the curator, and another museum employee emerge with the paintings.
Hello, is it Richard?
Hello.
It is. Hello.
Hi,
Hello,
Richard.
Richard.
Hi.
You okay?
You're right. Do you want to... Should we just show you some identification, Richard?
Yes, definitely.
There you go.
I'm expecting you.
Okay.
Anxious that these original works of art aren't damaged in transit, the curator gives Dave some advice on how to handle them.
Yeah, needs special sort of packaging on them.
Stacking, they need to be frame to frame. You don't want to pierce the canvas.
Dave's given a pair of cotton gloves as an extra precaution to avoid damaging the pictures.
Go on, thank you very much.
For insurance purposes, Tommy and Dave need to provide their office with photographs and dimensions for each painting.
And the rear, please. 67 centimetres in width.
In width?
Yeah. By 99 in length. That's the mama.
And that's the mama. She don't look very happy, does she?
One of the 8 paintings the sheriffs were hoping to remove is missing, and it's the one that's potentially the most valuable.
The defendant has come and took one of the pictures, and we know that's a reasonable value, at least £1 million. Does make me slightly suspicious of the value of these, because you'd think he would have took these as well, but all we can do is hope they come back with a decent valuation.
The discovery is a blow for the sheriffs, but as far as the curator's concerned, these works of art are precious, regardless of their monetary value.
Well, they're good examples of mid-20th century modernism with a social history slant. We used them quite a lot during the period of time that they've been here. No, I will miss them, actually, yes. Sorry to see them go.
Okay. Pictures of the etchings. It's a bit saucy, that one, isn't it?
Tommy may not have an appreciation of fine art, but he wants to recover as much of the debt as he can, so he's keen to know what these pieces are worth.
Do you have any idea of the value of these?
No. And actually, I wouldn't be able to tell you if I did.
No.
But my idea of value is certainly a lot less than Mr. Petrillo's, I think.
Yes. I mean, if you was just to have a guess,
No,
you couldn't do it, no?
No, I couldn't possibly.
The curator's reluctant to do an on-the-spot valuation, but the sheriffs need to decide how much to insure the paintings for before they remove them.
We still have an ongoing issue at the moment with the valuation to get these goods into transport. Initially, they thought the true value of these could be very high. We still don't know. The only valuation we have at the moment is what the gallery was insuring them for, which is from a date of May 1996, which was for £12,000.
While Tommy and Dave wait for the office to arrange the insurance, they prepare the paintings for transportation.
Wonderful. Thank you.
With the insurance finally in place, Mr. Petrillo's art collection,
thank you very much,
is loaded into a van, ready for the long drive to London, where it'll be put into storage at an auction house.
Pack them like they are worth £1 million. So you're off then?
The goods have now been removed. They're on the way to the auction centre at London to get a better value of the artwork, and we'll know more once that has been completed.
I think me and Dave would both be interested to see what the valuation becomes on these paintings and what they fetch in auction.
Mr. Petrillo's art collection was finally auctioned, but as the sheriff suspected, the amount it fetched fell well short of the millions required to cover the debt. As for Mr. Petrillo himself, it's thought he's still in Moscow and isn't expected to be returning to the UK anytime soon. If you've won a county court judgment and haven't been paid, for £66 you can get the case transferred up to the High Court, which will issue a writ for enforcement by the sheriffs.
Hello? I'm enforcement agent, enforcing a High Court writ.
I'm here just to execute the court order.
They've got more powers than county court bailiffs.
We're going to force entry into the shop in about the next 10-15 minutes.
I have the right, under the writ, to investigate.
If you obstruct myself or my colleague, it is a criminal offence.
And there's no limit to the size of the debts they can pursue.
£14 million. It's the largest job I've ever done.
He can pay it directly into our account from Spain.
If they're successful, they will recover your money and costs from the debtor.
Thanks.
Thank you.
As well as their own fees that are set by the government.
It was that amount there until 5:30. I don't stand here for 3 hours for nothing.
If the sheriffs can't get your money, they'll ask you to pay a fee of £75 plus VAT. The sheriffs are normally armed with a few basic facts in order to execute a High Court writ. A name, an address, and an amount that's owed. But sometimes, like today, a bit of extra background information about the debtor can make the difference between getting payment in full and walking away empty-handed. High Court enforcement agents Billy Evans and Jess Payton are heading for the village of Cottenham, near Cambridge.
We're looking for James Cutton trading as Carmatech. It's a unit on an industrial estate.
Mr. Curran has already contacted the sheriffs.
I mean, he has made a phone call into the office offering a payment of £50 a month, which is not acceptable.
Jess has set his sights a lot higher than that.
We'd like to find the owner there to start with and get paid in full. We've got some phone numbers here as well. If he's not there, we'll make a phone call, get him down there. If it is a body shop or if it is car repairs or anything, there's going to be assets there that we can remove if need be.
In fact, Carmatech specialises in servicing and repairing vehicles of all makes and models. The amount owed today is £2,621. The size of today's debt is more than Jess paid for his first set of wheels.
My first car was a Singer Vogue. It didn't even have letters on their registration, it was all numbers. That was 1982.
Before I was born.
Before Billy was born,
10 years.
As you can see, I'm with Junior today.
They arrive at the industrial estate where Carmatech is based.
At the moment, it's not looking very good. It's all closed up. First impression is not favourable at the moment. It's looking like it's an empty unit.
Jess is right. The place has been abandoned.
Locked.
The sheriffs have the power to carry out diligent searches at commercial premises if they have reason to believe the debtor could be trading from there. So, to find out if the debtor is still trading from this unit, Jess checks the mail, and none of it is addressed to Mr. Curran or to Carmatech.
Let's try banging it just in case.
With no one here and no Carmatech signage, it's starting to look as if the debtor has shut up shop for good.
Absolutely nothing round the back, it's just all weeds, and so I want to try his home number.
The sheriffs make several attempts to contact him by phone, but he's not picking up.
I've got two numbers here, I've tried both numbers. The mobile number is answering as Carmatech, and the work number is answering as Carmatech, but basically going to answer machine.
Jess and Billy aren't going to give up that easily.
For all we know, he may have not been able to afford this unit, so therefore he's gone to his home and he could be trading from home.
Because Mr. Curran is named on the High Court writ, the sheriffs have the right to visit any address where they believe he's living or trading from. The problem is, they don't have his home address on file. Billy gives the office a call.
Is there any chance that we can do a quick trace on his name to find a home address that we can do a visit to? 5-10 minutes, yeah, that's not a problem.
Normally, the sheriffs send the debtor a notice of enforcement before they visit in person. In this case, that notice was sent to Mr. Curran's business address, which is no longer in use. They know Mr. Curran has received it because he contacted the office to offer a payment plan of £50 a month. But he won't be expecting the sheriffs to turn up at his home address.
Yeah, shock factors are best. If you give him any pre-warning, the chances are assets could disappear. Exactly, so it's all about the shock factor.
Jess and Billy finally managed to get Mr. Curran's home address and head straight there.
Right, it's down here on the left apparently. I'm hoping it might be quite a big house because these houses are quite big.
Yeah. Keep going. Right, slow down now, Maria, in here.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, BMW.
There are plenty of cars on the drive and round the back of the house behind the gates. It looks as if Carmatech and Mr. Curran are still in business.
Hello, mate. Mr. Curran?
The man says he's not Mr. Curran. And he directs Jess back round to the front of the house. And the man they're looking for answers the front door.
Right, Mr. Payton from the Sheriff's Office. Yes, Mr. Evans from the Sheriff's Office. OK.
Our cameraman is initially shown inside by Mr. Curran, then immediately asked to leave. We continue to film from the street, while Jess gets down to business inside.
Well, basically, we're here today to collect this debt. At the moment, it's £2,621.81.
Mr. Curran offers to pay part of the debt now, and the rest in a week's time. But Jess has a better idea.
Well, what we're going to do is give you 10 minutes to try and sort things through, make a few phone calls. At the end of the day, you're better off owing them than owing us.
Billy comes outside to update us.
They asked if they can pay a certain amount and then pay the rest off in arrangements. We've told them that they've got a smart car here, they've got a BMW, they've got vehicles out the back, so it's payment in full. So at this moment in time, Jess has given them 10 minutes to raise the funds before we take further action.
But while Billy's outside updating us, Jess gets the breakthrough he's been holding out for.
Can you get a ways to pay sheriff's form?
Jess has just asked me for the ways to pay form, which has all the bank details on how they can make a payment, which would suggest they're going to be making payment in full.
Inside the house, the sheriffs secure an initial payment of just over £600.
Hiya mate, it's Jess Payton.
Jess checks it's gone through okay.
Mr James Curran. It was a backs payment. He's paid £621 of it. Okay, got that, lovely. We're just waiting on the other two. He's got a relative coming over to pay the other £2,000, so they'll be here in a minute. All right, thank you. Cheers, bye.
That's £621 down, so £2,000 to go. Apparently there's a family member coming to the rescue. Right on cue, a car pulls in. The sheriffs are hoping this means the rest of the money is about to be paid.
I've just got to take this into Billy and give him a bit of support in there. You never know.
15 minutes later, the debt is cleared. All £2,621.81 of it, and payment is safely in the sheriff's account. Jess and Billy know that if they hadn't got hold of a home address for Mr. Curran, today might have turned out very differently.
Just having that extra bit of knowledge, thinking outside the box, we've now got a result. It could have been an easy case of going to that address and returning the file, but just doing that little bit of digging has now got us paid in full and one happy client.
James Curran told us Karmatech had made mistakes in the handling of its finances, and measures had been taken to prevent situations like this arising in the future. High Court enforcement agents Rob Foster and Lawrence Grix are heading to Hoddesdon in Hertfordshire.
We're going to Thomas Raymond Butler, trading as Butler's estate agents. He owes a total of £31,181.57, which is an awful lot of money.
The debt relates to unpaid rent and damage caused to a property being let by the agent. Lawrence and Rob both know they'll have their work cut out today.
Generally with an estate agent, all you'll find there asset-wise is a couple of desks, a couple of computers. You may be lucky and find that there's a vehicle there, but as a general rule, this day and age, they're mainly leased.
The most likely outcome is a payment plan which allows Mr. Butler to clear the debt by instalments.
We're not potentially going to have much leverage to force a payment of over £31,000, but we'll do our best. We've got to go in with an open mind, anticipating collecting full payment. It is in the gentleman's personal name, so he may have his personal vehicle outside, which might just be a Bentley.
A Bentley? Now that really would make a difference. The amount owed today is £31,181. The sheriffs find Butler estate agents in a prominent position in the town's high street.
Thomas Raymond Butler?
That's me.
Trace my ID. So my name's Mr. Grix. My colleague and I are enforcement agents.
Yeah.
We're here to execute a High Court writ on behalf
Mr. Butler produces a letter he's convinced will send the sheriffs packing.
That's the latest.
It's a covering letter and an application form to have the judgment set aside, which would mean the case going back to court and being reheard. While Lawrence reads the letter, we're asked to leave, so we go outside and continue to film from the street.
Right, that doesn't stop enforcement action today, sir. The amount outstanding is £31,181.57.
If Mr. Butler's application were to be successful and the writ set aside within 14 days, then any money he paid to clear the debt today would be returned. But for now, the writ must be executed. Meanwhile, Rob has been conducting a diligent search of the office, looking for assets.
On his desk was a set of keys. He's identified it being a Ford Mondeo parked at the back of the property. That's his. Searching through the desk drawers, we found 4 or 5 envelopes stuffed full of cash. Also in that drawer, though, was a Bentley key.
Now, what are the chances of that? But it's not the breakthrough they were hoping for. Mr. Butler tells the sheriffs that although he has a Bentley key, he doesn't have a Bentley to go with it.
He states this is from a deceased friend of his. but won't give us any more information. So we are going to go and have a look around just to see if it is in the surrounding areas. Alternatively, we may see if we can find a home address and see if we can locate it there. Either way, due diligence, we'll go and have a look for it and see if we can locate the vehicle.
It turns out the envelopes full of cash are customer deposits and can't be used to help pay off the debt. Instead, Rob checks the parking area behind the estate agents.
I can't see no Bentley.
But he can see a Ford Mondeo. If only it was the other way around. Rob does an HPI check on the vehicle, and it's clear of finance, but it's in poor condition.
There is significant damage to the vehicle, which is going to hammer its value, but we could be talking £2,000 value for the vehicle.
Back inside the estate agents, Lawrence is listing what assets there are and setting up a payment plan. He wants the best deal he can get for the claimant without putting Mr. Butler out of business.
I checked all the company and personal bank accounts. Mr. Butler eventually managed to pay about £2,000.
In addition to the £2,000, Mr. Butler has also agreed to clear the debt at the rate of £500 a month. If he doesn't keep up the payments, the sheriffs can come back and remove assets.
No leverage, there wasn't a lot we could do really, so £2,000 not a bad result.